Did I or did I not promise that my hair would be cooler next time? And it is. You're welcome. Hey howdy, welcome back to my channel. This is my July TBR. It's a little smaller than my TBRs in the past because I am going back to work this month, so I don't want to overwhelm myself with feeling like I need to do too much when I don't. So I just picked some good short ones. I got some good manga this month. Overall, a good selection. The first book I'll be reading this month is my ebook for the month, which is Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. I of course have read Twilight before. It was one of my favorite series growing up, but since her new book Midnight Sun comes out in August and I do intend to read that, I want to be ready for it, so I'm going to be rereading Twilight on my phone throughout the month. It should be really quick for me to get through because, like I said, I have already read it and I've seen the movie a number of times. So I am kind of excited to reread it. I know that I'm definitely not going to like it as much as I did when I originally read it, but it still has a lot of nostalgia for me, so I think I'll like it. I was heavily Team Edward, in case anyone was wondering. I just want to make that clear. I'm Team Edward, I always will be. Vampires are forever cooler than werewolves. The next book that, let's get into the physical books on my TBR. I have Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I feel like I haven't done a lot of classics recently, and I do love a good classic, some good classic literature. So also I just love the cover of this book so much. I've already talked about how much I love these editions, but I really love them. The next book that I plan to read in the month of July is In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. This is one of the books that was on my list of books that I absolutely wanted to get to in 2020, and so I am very excited to get to this one this month. It's a true crime book. It's one of the books that I've, heard great things about my entire life and been told I should read my entire life, so I feel like it's time I finally got around to it. The next book I intend to read this month is Beloved by Toni Morrison. I've talked about this book in my two most recent videos, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about it in this video, but I do plan on reading it this month. It's one of the ones I'm going to bring on vacation with me, so hopefully I'll get it read there. I usually get a lot of books read on vacation, so I guess that a good chunk of my TBR will probably get done while I'm on vacation, this one included. The next book I intend to read is The Crying Book by Heather Crystal. This book is a non-fiction book about the history of crying, the science behind why we cry, and the way it's been viewed in society, and it's also mixed in with some of Heather Crystal's real life experiences, suicide and depression, and her pregnancies, and her kind of personal history with crying. This is another one that is part of my books I'm reading for grief, and I'm very excited to get to this one. Also, the cover on this book is just so beautiful. Like, I don't know if you can tell on the camera, but it has, the tears are like made out of little stars and space, and I just think it's really pretty. The next book I plan on reading this month I also talked about in my last video because I just picked it up a little while ago, and that's The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. This is the longest book on my TBR this month, so probably a pretty good portion of the month will be devoted to it. Like I said in my last video, this book is about African American sisters and kind of their lives and just the way their lives go and how their lives differ from one another. And then the last two books on my TBR for July are just a couple mangas that I am needing to catch up on. The first one is the 4th volume of Deadman Wonderland. Deadman Wonderland is my favorite anime, and so I started reading the manga series shortly after I finished the season that they have of the anime, and I absolutely love it. I think it's such an interesting premise. I think the characters are amazing. I think the art is amazing, and I am very excited to continue on in the series. And then I'm also going to be reading Volume 3 of Witch Hat Atelier, which is a book, it's a manga about this little apprenticeship for witches and there's like 4 of them, and they apprentice under this one witch, and he kind of teaches them the ways, and then this girl named, what's her fucking name? Coco. And then this girl Coco, who comes from a very regular background, finds out that she has magical powers, and she comes to study at this Atelier, which is like a workshop, and some happenings start going on after she begins, with some evil forces. So that's what this one's about, and I'm also very excited to read this one. Sorry for the shorter video this week. Like I said, my TBR this month is much smaller than usual, just because I'm going back to work and I'm gonna be out of town for a little period of time, and so I just didn't want to overwhelm myself, and also I'm gonna be trying to get ready for the coming school year, so I just didn't really want to overwhelm myself with feeling like I needed to get things done, because this past month in June I was also fairly busy, and I did just feel like I was falling behind on my reading a little bit, so I didn't want to put too much pressure on myself for this month. So it's a little bit of a shorter video, but I hope you enjoyed it anyway, and if you didn't, then you can kiss my ass. I will see you in the next video. Bye!